I mean, so I was just testing out Cortex before, like today, and it was low key one of the better chain abstraction products I've used. Like, there's so much noise about chain abstraction, but then I was actually so surprised by the fact that Synapse was building one of the better chain abstraction products without all the noise in the ecosystem. And you guys have also incorporated all the new AI stuff, which I feel like people will appreciate more now after having this hype around AI agents, right? Like we had chatbots before, but like now people know how to use an AI XPT sort of a bot, right? Like you were talking about the opportunities. So let's imagine you have an AI XPT type of a bot integrated into your account on Cortex, and then you can just like chat with the bot and figure out what are the highest volume trading pairs on Solana, and then like go about your trade on Cortex through that. So I definitely see the vision, and I feel like after all of this hype around AI agents intense, that's maybe sort of the product that blows up in a year from now. Like people might not appreciate it right now because nobody wants to try new things. Like everybody is busy trading, but 6 months from now, when the noise has gone, people would like appreciate the flexibility and like the convenience.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, everything, the market's going crazy right now, so it's really hard to tell, what are products that have a lot of staying power and really speak to sort of the people that use the chain and stuff today. But part of the thesis of us is just that like AI is really good right now. It's only going to get better. And this will be the way that most people interact with not just crypto and DeFi, but like the internet, right? If you talk to anyone, like my mom uses Chat GPT, and like that like breaks my brain, right? It's not the way the technology typically works. But we sort of think that like in the same way that, you may use like MetaMask or Rabby today, like the way that you'll just interact with DeFi will just like be through an AI agent, right? So that could be the chat. That could be an agent that texts you every morning and says, hey, Bitcoin is down 5%. Do you want to sell all of your bags? Like there's a lot of different features you can build around that like feel less and less like a chat and more like a like personal sort of like financial advisor, right? And we think like that is super interesting and allows people to sort of have intelligence in their pocket, right? Another really cool thing that we're doing there that like I am personally super excited about is we're doing a lot of cool stuff with account abstraction. Like honestly, and like part of building Cortex, I've realized that like the tech has come so far in the past 4 years, and now you can sort of do things that feel a bit more native to my life experience, right? Like rather than like having to deal with like a ledger somewhere and like figuring out how to put that into a hot, et cetera, you can actually just like use your biometrics or something, right? Which like I use my Face ID for other things on my phone, and it just makes sense that I would, if I do that for my bank, that also probably is a decent user experience for me in DeFi, right? Like, it's crazy to me that so like I think like 60% of DeFi users like use DeFi on mobile, and like I will like log into certain websites on mobile and I'm like, this thing does not like, it just does not work, right? So there's so many different cool user experiencing things that you can do around sort of the intersection of AI, account abstraction, and a lot of other cool things that like the base layer innovation has kind of allowed for. And that's where we want to be, right? We want to empower DeFi users and really build products that are, they will use.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the innovation is definitely there. The tech is there. People are just not used to the workflows, right? Like even me as a user, I'm not used to the account abstraction workflow. Like I'm used to going to my wallet and then doing things, right? Like that's just the mental model that I have for using the crypto ecosystem in general. But that will change at some point. Like even with the AI agents, when ChatGPT launched, nobody knew how to use it or like how to integrate ChatGPT into their like daily life. But then now we can't live without it, right? Like there's no day that goes by where we don't use ChatGPT. So I feel like all of these changes will come at some point, but they require some very habit breaking kind of a moment. I don't know what that moment will be, maybe, but I feel like the tech is definitely improving.
Yeah, and like I'm sure you've heard this just as much as I have in the past year, where everyone's asking like, where are the apps at? And I think the apps are like here, they're just hard to use, right? Like Athena is an awesome protocol, right? It does some really novel stuff. It's super interesting, but you like log onto the website and there's like 13 different things going on. You're like, how do I even start to think about using this? And so I think like a lot of the pressure is on simplifying that for people that are not DeFi degens or DeFi native. How do someone like that interact with it? And AI sort of gives you the tools to do that, right?
I mean, it's because it's all financial apps, right? So a lot of people just have the barrier towards like, okay, I don't really understand lending and borrowing, so I'm not gonna get into this. So how are you guys kind of promoting and positioning Cortex?
Yeah, so I think like there is natural sort of synergies between Synapse and Cortex, and that is one of the things that we have tried to communicate. And the way that I think to simplify this is like Cortex is the interface and Synapse Intent Network is the execution layer, right? Because intent networks are really good at dealing with that complexity and executing it. But sometimes translating whatever the user's desire is into something that is structured that a blockchain or solver can read is difficult, right? Like sometimes it's hard for me to explain, like, what do I even want to trade on chain? What do I think is interesting? What are the types of protocols that I trust? And so AI and AI agents are really good at understanding those sort of user sort of desires, while the intents are really good at expressing or executing the user sort of requests. But with that being said, I think like one of the big unlocks for us is tapping into a lot of these sort of places where users live on chain, right? I think 3 years ago, that looked very different. You had everything from like Axie Infinity to DeFi Kingdoms to different games in different places. That user profile looks totally different now, right? I think I saw some stats today where World Chain is onboarding like 750,000 people like a week or something, right? And that number is like, that's like, ask how do we onboard the next 10 million, 100 million people? Like that is where that's happening. So things like a world app is actually super interesting, right? There are apps today that are used by millions of people. So I think like figuring out the intersection of DeFi, but then also people that are being onboarded is super crucial, which means that like mobile is super important, right? Having accessibility to different languages is super important. Figuring out P2P payments within Telegram is super important because these are where users live today. So when you talk about, I think, sort of growth and promotion and sort of how we're thinking about it, this is like a DeFi app for DeFi users, but we want to make it as simple as possible. Like so simple, your mom could use it, and that's kind of the goal there.